July 1630. Venice is burning, but not from fire. The heat radiating off the stagnant lagoon is suffocating, carrying with it the sickening stench of sulfur, rotting offal, and human decay. You are standing in the shadows of an arched alleyway near the Grand Canal, listening to the agonizing silence of a city that once ruled the Mediterranean. Pop culture and modern carnival masks have turned this figure into a Gothic aesthetic, a mysterious, romantic symbol of Renaissance medicine. The reality was far more terrifying. If you found yourself standing in the worn leather boots of a Venetian plague doctor in 1630, you would realize within minutes that this role was not a noble calling. It was a state-sanctioned suicide mission. You were not a hero. You were an undertaker dressed in an early modern hazmat suit, paid by a desperate government to manage a demographic collapse. Your day begins before sunrise in a tiny, locked room, and the simple act of getting dressed is a suffocating ordeal. The suit you wear was designed by Charles Delorme, and it is a masterpiece of early biohazard paranoia. First comes the heavy linen undershirt, soaked in vinegar until the acidic fumes sting your eyes and throat. Over this goes a full-length overcoat made of Moroccan leather, heavily coated in animal fat and melted beeswax. It is completely impermeable, trapping every drop of your sweat, every gasp of your breath. Then comes the centerpiece of your uniform, the mask. It is crafted from hardened oiled leather, with two round glass lenses over the eyes that constantly fog up with your rapid breathing. The front extends into a curved, 12-inch hollow beak. Inside that beak, you pack a chaotic mixture of dried camphor, mint, cloves, crushed myrrh, and rose petals. In the 17th century, science believed that pestilence was carried by miasma, the foul, corrupted air rising from decay. The sweet-smelling herbs are your only supposed shield against death. Under the scorching Italian summer sun, your leather suit becomes an oven. Within 10 minutes, sweat is pouring into your boots. Your vision is narrowed to two distorted glass circles. Your breathing is shallow, constrained by the suffocating density of the aromatic spices pressing against your mouth. For breakfast, you swallow dry hardtack and stale wine, keeping your distance from every human soul. Even the water you drink feels like a potential death sentence. As you step out into the streets, the true nature of your job becomes terrifyingly clear. You are not practicing medicine in a clean, quiet clinic. You are navigating an open-air quarantine zone where panic has destroyed the social fabric. The Venetian Republic was famously organized, operating like a strict corporate state. The health magistrate, the Magistrato alla Sanità, has divided the city into heavily guarded sectors. You carry a long wooden cane, your most essential tool. It is designed so you never have to make physical contact with the living or the dead. You use it to tap on doorframes to announce your arrival, to push back desperate citizens begging for help, and to prod unconscious bodies in the gutters to see if they still possess a pulse. Every street corner is a minefield of paranoia. The Venetian government employed secret informants, and citizens routinely denounced their neighbors for hiding symptoms. If a family hid a sick child to avoid being dragged to the quarantine islands, and you discovered them, you had to mark their door with a large red cross. Doing so meant sentencing them to exile. Desperate families would throw boiling water, rocks, or chamber pots from upper windows at your masked head, viewing you not as a healer, but as the literal Grim Reaper come to seal their fate. You walk alone, avoided by the healthy, despised by the sick, and monitored by armed guards who will shoot you if you break your own quarantine boundaries. By midday, the heat reaches its peak, and you must enter the lazarettos, the quarantine facilities located on islands across the lagoon, such as the infamous Lazaretto Vecchio. This is where the dark turning point of your week occurs. Crossing the water on a flat-bottomed boat, the air grows thick with the smell of scorched flesh and dried blood. The lazaretto is a circle of hell Dante forgot to write. Thousands of bodies lie packed tightly together on straw pallets, moaning in the darkness. The medical theory of the era is completely powerless against Yersinia pestis, the bacteria ravaging their bodies. You move down the rows with your cane and your medical kit. Your primary treatments are barbaric and useless. You apply live toads or leeches to their groins and armpits, hoping they will suck out the poison. When that fails, you take a red-hot iron cautery and press it directly into the swollen, blackened buboes, burning the lymph nodes in a futile effort to drain the infection. The screams of the dying echo against the stone walls, trapped inside your leather beak alongside the scent of cloves and vinegar. Mistakes here are absolute. A single puncture in your leather gloves, a flea slipping into the collar of your waxed coat, or a moment of carelessness while lifting a dead child onto the cart, and your fate is sealed. You know the symptoms intimately. First, the violent fever and shivering chills. Then, the agonizing swelling in the armpits that turns blue-black and leaks foul-smelling fluid. Within 5 days, internal hemorrhaging turns your skin dark, your organs fail, and you become the very thing you were hired to clean up. At midnight, you stand at the edge of the lagoon watching the death barges. Sotocapi, the low-tier laborers condemned to haul the dead, stack dozens of naked corpses like cordwood onto flat barges heading for mass burial trenches on distant islands. In the 1630 epidemic, Venice lost nearly a third of its entire population, over 45,000 people in 16 months. The psychological toll of watching an entire civilization vanish beneath your foggy glass lenses is an invisible weight that crushes most doctors long before the bacteria ever reaches them. The plague doctors of 17th century Venice were not mystical shamans, nor were they infallible medical pioneers. Most of them were second-rate physicians, failed academics, or desperately poor men who signed dangerous city contracts because they had no other way to survive. They were cogs in a massive, terrified bureaucratic machine, trapped inside boiling leather suits, attempting to fight an invisible biological monster with herbs, hot irons, and wooden sticks. Yet in their grim, methodical persistence, they formed the brutal foundation of modern public health, epidemiology, and quarantine protocol. They stood on the front lines when everyone else fled, bearing witness to the darkest moments of human fragility. If you enjoyed this journey into the dark corners of history, hit the subscribe button and join us at Past Legacy for more deep dives into the forgotten realities of the past. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have put on the mask, or would you have run? Until next time, stay curious and remember the legacies left behind in the shadows.